So in 2021, I might have reduced them to naught, made their memory cease upon mankind. So this medicine that they forced us to take might have erased our memory from the face of the earth, but it hadn't quite yet. Yeah, right. Okay, so 2022, but for fear of the taunts of the foe, their enemies who might misjudge and say, our own hand has prevailed. None of this was wrought by God. So people stopped talking about COVID, because they were scared that that they would be made fun of or abandoned by their families. We might think that the end of the lockdowns was a victory, but of course it wasn't. In 2023, for they are a folk void of sins, lacking in discernment. Basically, they're saying, we're sheep. They realize at this point, we fell for their whole agenda. And now, at this point, as far as they're concerned, it's too late. Now, I'm not saying it's too late, but our window of action is dwindling. I will say, though, by this point, yes, we are sheep. We could tell people are lacking in discernment. The biggest way of telling this was the whole COVID panic. People who fell for that are exactly who this passage is referencing. And then in 2024, were they wise, they would think upon this, gain insight into their future. I think that this is saying that, actually, I think this might be saying that 2024 is our last chance, basically. And that's the year that we're in. I actually have this sort of feeling anyways. It says, I wrote, we need to learn from our mistakes at this point. If we were wise, we would think upon what's happening and what's happened. We would take this information that I'm providing you as along with a ton of information that I cannot pack into this video that other people have already brought up over and over and over again. If we were smart, if we were wise, we would learn from our mistakes and gain insight into our future in order to stop it. But they know that most people won't do that because we're a folk void of sins and lacking in discernment. 2025 is an interesting year. What is that? This is election year. We're in 2024 election year. President of 2025. How could one have routed 1,000 or put 10,000 to flight unless their rock had sold them? A rock is another word that they like to use for Messiah. God had given them up. Assuming Trump is our messianic figure, he will sell us out the year of his election in 2025. I am firmly predicting that's what this is referencing. I think 2025, if Trump wins, which I think is what they're planning, I could be wrong about that. They could have an ace up their sleeve, or you could say they could have a Trump card up their sleeve. Either way, it's a little interesting. A lot of these parallels with Trump and, they're trying to put him in the light of a messianic figure. He's up for re-election. 2025 is the year our rock had sold them out and God had given them up. So once we accept him as a false Messiah, technically he would be an idol. Then at that point, with their whole esoteric belief, God will give us up. At that point, what they're saying is, it's over. We fell for the trap. And, so 2026, for their rock is not like our rock, in our enemy's own estimation. So, even according to us, our Messiah is very different from theirs. Our Savior is a trap. And I don't mean like a trap. He's like, jokingly what I mean. Like he's a trap. Yeah, he's a Pied Piper president. He's trying to lead us off a cliff. So Just Sanguina says even COVID was scriptures. Exactly. And I'm pretty sure I talked about that in my video. What was it called? How long until they destroy us is what I think I called it. I mentioned the COVID part, but I'm going into much more detail than I went back then because Silas, once he released his Grand Sothic cycle, if I would have thought about that when I was making this, this would have been groundbreaking. And now I feel like this is a little too late because I had not thought of the Yavel 7-year cycle. I was just thinking of these Shemitah years. I didn't put it together quite fully. But if I had, we could have had something like this a little bit beforehand. So this is the Hillary Clinton document, and while there's much deception going on in this, I just found it interesting that she listed Donald Trump as one of 3 possible Pied Piper candidates. And she's trying to act like a Pied Piper means something than what it actually means. But the fact of the matter is, it shows a planned collusion between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And she's acting like she's going to use Donald Trump to become more extreme so that she wins. I actually believe it's the other way around. I think she wanted Donald Trump in because she knew that if she ran, that he would win. It's a bit of an inversion, but I think she knew that. And her and Donald Trump are friends. He didn't arrest her after the election because they're such great friends. He's a Pied Piper candidate. And in 2027, it says, the vine from them is from Sodom in the vineyards of Gomorrah. The grapes are for them poison, a bitter growth, their clusters. So, interestingly enough, at this point, it's basically saying that we're going to be so degenerate that everything's beyond repair. I actually sort of predict by this point, if we're still alive, they probably would make the disgusting act that these disgusting group of people have towards, children. I sort of think they'll legalize that by that year, because that would be peak degeneracy, and I think that sort of describes what they're talking about here. But on top of that, the vines on the tree of Eden are that of sin and degeneracy, which has been brought on us by the Hyksossian subversion. We are drinking poison from the tree of death, which will become the tree of life once ripened for the Hyksos. So once their messianic age has come, this wine is now safe for the drinking, and they will drink it. So 2028 to 2029 is the right before their 2030 agenda. This is another 7 years, and for 2028 it says their wine is the venom of asps, the pitless poison of vipers. And then 2029 it says, lo, I have put it all away, sealed up in my storehouses. So 2030 agenda, the first step towards this world to come. Now the grapes are ripe. And then I put the cure possibly to our infertility, like we were reading beforehand in this stream, how they want to make us infertile, and only a certain group of us will get the cure. The cure will be kept from us. They will have it. Maybe they'll give it to the ones of us that they want to make slaves, that are so privileged for that dishonorable service. But it seems like they, I'm assuming this cure they're talking about is either to infertility, or it could even be, if they do decide to do a zombie virus, it could be to that as well. And then 2030, to be my vengeance and recompense at the time that their foot falters. Yea, their day of disaster is near, and destiny rushes upon them. So Jacob grabbed Esau's heel. Once we stumble, the day of our mass extermination / enslavement is near.